Streaming. There's no way for me to see the chat though. Here, we're gonna just open the chat and there we go. Okay, so I can get the chat in a new window. So it's a little different. It's a little bit of a different prospect this time, but I'm pretty sure that I can get everyone. So yes, we have a person. We have a person. Say hello. I have the chat working, I think. I have everything good to go. So I think we're good. So let's try that again, shall we, guys? Say hello, like I said, so I can see you. I don't see anybody yet, but good morning. I'm sure that you will come in. I think there's a delay too, so I think that's affecting it. But thank you so much for being patient with me right now. Yes, yes, we have a chat text message. Thank you guys so much for being patient with me. This is a learning experience for me, and now you get to see how I act under stress. So this has been such a big deal to me all week. I've really been wanting to share this with you guys. Usually I have to start the spiel off with, I'm not a licensed professional, so you can't take any of my advice as a licensed professional. But we actually have a licensed professional in the house today, so help me welcome Brandy Frizzell LPC to the channel. Thank you so much, Brandy, for joining me today. So,
hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored.
we have an awesome community, a lot of people here. Some people submitted questions in advance for you, but for the most part, we're just gonna hang out. We're gonna share some of the wins with the community, share some good news stories, because gosh, I don't know about you, but I definitely need some for this week. It's been a crazy week. Nationally, it's been a crazy week. Personally, just absolutely insane. But
Awesome.
But yes, everybody's yay! I know you can't see the chat, so Brandy can't see the chat, but if you do have questions, make sure to use that super sticker function. It really helps the channel. It helps with that big mental health project that we are going to be announcing in just a couple of weeks. We are down to the wire to being able to announce that project. All the super sticker and super chat donations will go toward that today. But if you do have a question, make sure to drop it here in the chat. But I want to start off by, like I said, sharing a good news story, as we always do, and getting Brandy to weigh in with me. So I think this is really cool. They now have a stand-up comedy course for men at risk of suicide, and it won NHS funding. So it's called Comedy on Referral, will help vulnerable adults in London after successful course in Bristol for trauma survivors. Stand-up comedy is regularly listed as one of the toughest jobs in the world, featuring heavily in 90% of people's top 10 fears. I did not know that, but that's crazy. But a course helping some of the most vulnerable people in the country by teaching them to be comedians is proving so successful that it's being socially prescribed by NHS trusts and private practices across the country. How cool is this? I love seeing new ideas for helping people with their mental health. What do you think?
Absolutely. And I think trying some of these things that like are considered like out of the box, is amazing because it works. We don't have to go with just what we've always done. We can do something different and something that is creates community.
Yeah.
Because to heal, you absolutely need community. And so I think that's great.
I like that you said that because I think so many people think I have to do this myself. You know, I have to heal myself. I have to put on my big girl pants and do this myself. And that, to me, is one of the biggest misconceptions of mental health.
Absolutely. We are meant to be in community. We're meant to grow together. And if there's trauma, we're meant to heal together. And it's important that we do that. And one of the biggest things that happens when we have a mental health struggle is there's a like almost overwhelming urge to isolate ourselves. And that takes us away from community and it pulls us further away from healing.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many different ways to be part of a community. It doesn't have to be, friends, best friends. It doesn't have to be a church. It doesn't have to be something specific. There's so many different ways to benefit from that, in my humble opinion, that I think can really do a lot. And I know that in Canada, the doctors have started prescribing hikes and nature excursions and stuff, which I think is super cool because, that's something else that you can do as a community, and you're getting your vitamin D and you're really reaping those benefits of just being outside and grounding and reconnecting.
Absolutely. I'm your community is something you get to decide.
Yep.
You get to decide who you want to help you heal. I always say, look around. Do you see somebody that has something that you want? Do they have joy? Do they have peace? Have they overcome something that you're like, man, I wish I could do that? And make them a part of your community. It can be all those things that you said, your church, your best friend. But if it's something different, if it's this group, this is community. If it is some sort of hiking group like that, absolutely, because we know that your brain is a part of your body. So anything that you can do to like stimulate that, I really believe in helping people holistically, as a three-part being: your body, your soul, your spirit. You can't disconnect those things. And so it's important that you treat the whole person.
I am so happy to hear that from the mouth of a professional, because it's so insane to me that people, even when we talk about health, we say mental and physical health. Bruh, do you not realize your brain is part of your physical being? You were talking about, this community and how this can be helpful too. I actually just got a message here from Matthew Martin that says, Amanda, I want to let you know you gave me a reason to fight and not take my life. I was so down, but I pulled through because of you and your community. Thank you for caring about if my light goes out, I'm still here. And we are so happy that you're still here, Matthew. And I very much care if your light goes out. Brandy, if you're not familiar with that, One More Light is a song by Linkin Park, and Linkin Park is the band that saved my life, and I am really adamant about letting people know that I care if their lights go out, because a lot of us in the Linkin Park family and community for that band believe that Chester, the lead singer, his light went out when he tragically lost his life to suicide. So I just like to remind people that it does matter if their light goes out, because we all have a light that we can offer into the darkness of this world. This world can seem very, very dark, and we all have a light that we can offer into it.
Absolutely. I mean, I really believe that people are created uniquely, individually, and that you matter, that you're important, and that you're here with a purpose. I don't think there's no accidents, regardless of the circumstance,
right,
that you were born into. Maybe you were a happy accident, but still, there's purpose for you.
Right.
And it's important that we recognize and dignify the humanity in people, because when as you're saying, like when that light is extinguished, it matters, and it does echo.
It does.
It does echo to people. I mean, look at this person, the lead singer from Linkin Park. His light being extinguished is still echoing into eternity.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the times we think, oh, well, that's an exception because he had so much affluence and he was such an influential figure, but we never know how far our reach really goes. I still get messages from people that worked with my mom back in the late 90s saying how much she inspired them. And she didn't work in any field that would be, oh, well, she helped me because she was she was a nurse, but at a different point. It's not that she helped me because this was her profession. She inspired me because of the person she was, and we all have that power to reach out to those around us. I love how people are here talking about how other animals really band together to protect, like elephants will band together to protect members of their herd no matter what, and I think that's beautiful. Wolves will do the same. They are very protective of their family, and we are pack animals. We are meant to be pack animals, and it's absolutely okay, to take time if you aren't feeling like yourself to go kind of recalibrate a little bit, but you want to still make sure that you are getting the social interaction that works for you in that moment,
Absolutely. Find your tribe. Find your tribe of people, and you care for each other.
Yeah.
That's what we're meant to do. We're meant to care for each other.
Yes. And I think that when we are struggling, we want to care for other people. So we think, oh, well, the best thing I can do for them is shut off because I don't want to burden them or hurt them or whatever the case is. And tell me if I'm wrong, because this is just my perspective. I feel like that is doing a disservice to society as a whole, because now we're perpetuating the idea to our children, to other people, to shut down emotions, and that's how we're supposed to handle our mental health, when we should be spreading the message with our kids or with those people around us that it is natural to have these feelings and emotions and how to go through them in a productive way.
Absolutely. Many people, because there's so much stigma associated with mental health, they try to hide that, or pretend like it doesn't happen, or they're not struggling. And that is not the right thing to do. Isolating yourself, or even trying to repress those emotions, trying to bury them down deep, eventually that is going to bubble over, and those emotions will come out.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, it might be an exactly the wrong time or the wrong situation. And then we feel this shame, like, man, I did it again. But the truth is, if we find a safe community to process through these things, professionals and non-professionals, we can begin to feel our feelings and not have to repress those things. We can be honest. I believe that being honest, rigorously honest, is something that
she froze there for a second.
Is important for telling the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that, like, telling the truth, being rigorously honest about how you feel, what you're going through, and being in that community that can support you.
Yeah. Community is more important than we possibly know. And like I said, it's okay to take a step back sometimes when you're not wanting to go to all these social functions. And I know there's so many times during the year that it's so expected of us to just go to 50,000 social functions. And that was actually one of the questions we had for this week, is how do I say no to people who keep inviting me to all these social functions when my anxiety is very high?
No.
Very simple.
No is a complete sentence. And so often, especially if we've been through trauma, we feel like, or we've grown up in trauma, we don't have a clear understanding of boundaries. And in therapy, that's one of the things that I discuss with clients the most. Boundaries define who I am and who you are. What is my responsibility and what is your responsibility? And that is something that's so important for us to know, because when we know that, then we know that it's okay for us to say no, and that the repercussion from that, those are their feelings, and it's okay for them to have their feelings, and I have my feelings separately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's perfectly okay to realize that saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a smart person. It makes you wise. It makes you able to understand and know that I'm only responsible for me and my feelings, and that's what I have to manage.
Yeah. And so many people feel so pressured to please everyone else. I know those people pleasers in my life, and I can be one sometimes, but we aren't meant to say yes to everything. And this is coming from the person that took the Yes Man Challenge back when that movie came out. I've taken it several times, and I do believe that there's times to just leaning into life and accepting it as it goes and trying new experiences and going to the events. But when you are struggling with symptoms of anxiety or depression, it's really important that you're holding your own boundaries.
Absolutely, because those boundaries are what keep us safe. They keep us physically safe. They keep us emotionally safe, and that is important. And I absolutely, what you're talking about is rest. You have to find time to rest and recalibrate, but that is not the same as isolation. And it's important that we distinguish that, so that we are resting is healthy, isolation is unhealthy.
I've always looked at depression as the split word, deep rest. And sometimes we do need that deep rest. How would you suggest distinguishing between when we're taking time for ourselves and when it's turning into isolation?
The emotions that come with that, because when we are at rest, we feel peace. We feel rest. We feel recalibrated. We begin to feel recharged. When we're isolated, we are slipping deeper and deeper into that black hole.
Yeah.
And knowing the difference from that, because peace absolutely feels different than that deep darkness.
I've noticed a lot of people here saying that they are the types that isolate. By the way, thank you, Erin, so much for your pledge here. But there are a lot of people that are saying they isolate and they don't know how to change that because they don't want to be that burden. They don't want to be a quote unquote inconvenience to other people. Mm-hmm. What would you suggest to start working on that mindset?
I think that requires some work in probably with a professional if you can, or having someone hold you accountable. Accountability is really a positive thing. We think of it as like, nobody's going to tell me what to do.
Right.
And so the truth is, accountability is a safety for us. We get to decide who holds us accountable and to what. And so if you're a person that isolates, you need that accountability. Someone to check in and say, hey, you didn't show up.
Yeah.
What happened? And not that our response is going to be, well, what do you care? But because we've given them permission, well, I wasn't feeling good or I wasn't feeling well. And so they can encourage us.
Right.
Because we need encouragement. And then tearing down that lie, because you believe a lie. You believe that you're a burden, and that is not the truth.
No. For anyone. It's not the truth.
It's not the truth for anyone. And tearing down that thought, and tearing down a thought, because we believe something oftentimes, like sometimes we start to believe that when we're little, like, I can't cry because my mom can't handle it when I cry, or I can't cry because somebody else has an emotional response to that, the anger, frustration. So I have to like keep these things in. I can't be seen. I can't be heard. And so we start to believe that, and then we start to live that out in our life.
Go ahead.
And so then we continue that out into our adulthood. And when we have these overwhelming emotions, instead of reaching out, we draw in. And we have to uproot that lie that we believe that we're a burden, because that's not true.
How much of a disservice do you think the previous generations did by telling children that they deserved to be seen and not heard?
Oh, well, that is not a thing that anyone should hear. And I get it. Listen, everybody's doing the best that they can as a parent. We're all doing the best that we can. I understand. We have more awareness now. We're learning as a society, as individuals, as a society, but I do believe that created this idea, that we can't say how we feel. We can't be vulnerable. And so right now we have to learn how to be vulnerable, but we have to learn how to be vulnerable and resilient.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We can't be vulnerable and let that lead to like this devastation. It has to be in the right context, in the right environment, in a safe environment, so that we can grow and learn and be supported.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah Ballerine Davis here says, trying to find a therapist at age 43 to process through my 12 years of childhood sexual and mental abuse. I'm terrified, but I don't want to die this way, or the way I'm currently living. Well, absolutely. Would you not say that's a pretty common, mindset? I don't want to die. I just don't want to live like this anymore. And when you've been holding on to trauma for that long, it can seem insurmountable.
Absolutely. And one trauma, God, begets trauma sometimes, because your trauma changes the way that your brain functions. You begin to live like in this survival mode. And so it's like trauma after trauma after trauma, because our brain is literally functioning differently. And so it kind of compounds. And so it is absolutely important that you seek professional help from that. And it's important too that you find the right therapist for you.
Yeah.
I always say this, and people think it's funny, but finding a therapist is like dating.
It is.
Which is, I know that's hard too. But it is like dating. If you go and you meet with this person and there's not a connection that is developed, like, if you go out on a date with someone, whether you want to go out on another date with them, you understand that So you don't have to go to one person, and if you feel like this, like, I don't know if we can relate, it's okay to try to find somebody different, or somebody, or have a consultation with them.
Yeah.
Like, ask questions, ask them about them. They're not interviewing you to be a client. You're interviewing them to be your therapist.
Yes.
Therapy is for you. It is not for your therapist.
I think that is the biggest takeaway I have ever heard come from a professional, because I feel like often they are kind of trying to interview you, and you feel like you're in that seedy little office with the bare light bulb overhead. And that's what it feels like sometimes being in a therapy office. Am I right, guys? Has anybody else ever felt like this? Because I really oftentimes feel like this is a police interrogation, and I'm going, I'm scared of what to say, because I'm scared that I'm in some way going to implicate myself for a crime, quote unquote. So I know that is something that actually came up last week or the week before on the stream, is a lot of people are afraid of talking to a professional because they're afraid that they're going to be reported, or that they're going to be turned in. And I spoke on this last week, but I just want to get professional clarification on this. Mm-hmm. From my understanding, nobody can report you unless you are actively a danger to yourself or someone else. You have a plan to harm yourself or someone else, correct?
Every state licensing board or licensing agency is different. There's an ethical standard that you have to have, but that is a big one. It's a thing that you must report. The law says it. You have to report if someone's actively a danger to themselves, to somebody else, or if there's abuse. If there's abuse, abandonment, neglect, particularly of people who are vulnerable, elderly people, disabled people, children. And if I'm honest with you, that is just what a good human would do.
Right?
So,
but it's not a case of, if I came to you as your client and I said, look, I am really struggling, I'm having these thoughts of suicide, you would not just report me right then and there just because I'm having these thoughts, correct?
No. I mean, I personally wouldn't, because there's a difference between, you have to, as a clinician, know, like, is this active right now? Is this a fleeting thought? Is this something that I had 2 weeks ago? Or, you know what I mean? You have to dig deeper and ask questions. And I mean, it comes with, as a clinician, assessing the risk of what's going on. And of course, you always want to, err on the side of caution, particularly if people, have a history of suicide attempt or whatever. But that's so individual, and you have to take it case by case, person by person, because care is individual. It's not cookie cutter.
That's what someone was saying over here. David Gap says, therapists are a tool to help us heal, but we need the correct tool to get it right. I like that.
That's right. Yeah. You better tell them.
Yeah, we have to have the right tool. And even with a lot of our self-care and our own routines and our own healing, something might not work, and it might not work at one point in our life and then work fine later or help us later. But all these things are tools, and we have to figure out the right tools. I am so happy to see you in here, Felony Starter. I know you had a hard week and things have been a little bit of a struggle for you, so feel free to open up and talk about that if you want. Same with anybody else. That is what we are here for, is for you to share your mental health stories, for you to ask questions, and get it all out, because sometimes that's the most important thing, is just getting it all out in the open. Eugene, absolutely. Yeah, I think that we have a couple people in here that had hard weeks, and I understand what that's like. And with everything that's been going on the past couple of years, I worry about the people that didn't have hard times sometimes. Like, why? I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm like, that's an astronomical amount of privilege, I would think. I don't know.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm afraid to speak my true thoughts, especially when it comes to how I feel about my mother. That could be so hard when it comes to family stuff.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be judged.
Right.
But if you're in a safe environment with a good therapist, you really have the freedom to say what you need to say.
Yeah. And there's always going to be somebody to listen, It's just a
Absolutely.
matter of, I put it this way, you could be the absolute total package, but if you get delivered to the wrong address, then that person's not going to appreciate this gift. And it's like that with communication and with life. We could be everything, and we are worthy, and we are lovable. Every single one of us is worthy and lovable. But if we get connected to a person that doesn't see that and appreciate that, then that's not on us. That's on their process and their experience.
Absolutely. And the first thing is we got to know we're the right package. We have to believe that about ourselves. I'm worthy. I'm lovable.
Yep.
You know, there's inherent worthiness in me.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see. I know that we had another question about why some people just seem to think that mental health outreach in general, and seeking a mental health professional is something that makes you crazy. And that's one of those things that I don't know where that idea came from, because crazy isn't even actually a technical term. Let's be real, that's a legal term. But yeah, the question was, where did that come from, and how do we address that?
I'm not a big fan of that word. It's kind of, how did they say lately? It's cringe for me.
Right? It's so cringe.
Very cringe. I don't. I think, you know, the way historically that we've treated people who have mental health diagnosis, it's a marginalized community. They've been marginalized.
Yeah.
Particularly people who have a high acuity of symptoms. And we're not that far removed from that, honestly. I mean, this was in the 40s, 50s, you know, that we were still doing these abhorrent things.
Lobotomies.
And so, yeah. And so we're not that far removed from it. And so there is still some stigma there, and understanding that us taking ownership of our own emotions, it starts with us. Yep. I guess is my point. It starts with us being true to ourselves, knowing who we are, and if we need help, seeking help, and not being ashamed.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason for us to be ashamed.
Yeah. Everybody gets...
That's the thing that sends to isolation.
Yeah. I think everybody gets to that point at some time or another, and there's not a single one of us that does not have some kind of trigger that could completely push us over the edge. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of us live one paycheck away from homelessness, and a lot of us live one tragedy away from a complete nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
And I think that COVID brought that a little bit more to light, and showing people that when something like this happens, there is no what do you call it? They're not picking and choosing. The world's not going to pick and choose. It's not selective about who it's going to affect, and that's the truth kind of across the board. Yeah.
I mean, look, recently, just this week, Naomi Judd committed suicide.
Yeah.
The day before she was to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, she ended her life.
Yeah.
She had money, she had fame, she had this prestige that she was going to get, and mental health and that struggle was that deeply real for her. And so it really is not, it's not choicey. Mental health takes who it can take.
Yeah. And nobody is invincible from it. You know, I know I saw so many people during this time, or I've seen people that have lost someone over the years, you know, and they are the ones that were, no, depression is just all in your head. And that's, yeah, then they get hit with something like COVID or like losing someone close to them, and all of a sudden they see the reality of it. And the tricky thing is that all of us don't need triggers that intense to set off this chain of events in our brains.
You were absolutely right. We used to think trauma was something you got in combat.
Right.
Trauma can be something that's as simple as your parents asking you, are you stupid or something?
Yeah.
That can plant this seed of this negative feeling that you carry with you your whole life. And so you live your whole life based on the fact, believing I'm stupid.
Yep.
And tell me that doesn't affect how you live. It absolutely does. And so really realizing that trauma is this continuum, and that different temperaments, different personalities have a different threshold for what they can tolerate.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing I think to realize about mental health is it is this spectrum, and the way people interact with it is this spectrum. So it's not just everyone's going to be traumatized by the specific thing. And I don't even think it always has to be malicious. I don't think things that trigger trauma always even have to be malicious. I know that I had a lot of those limiting beliefs from childhood and stuff, and my parents were the most loving, supportive parents ever. And I remember, my mom telling me once that I looked dead without makeup. As a teenager, I looked dead without makeup, and that's one of those things that's really affected my self-worth and my self-esteem in my adult life. And as I'm going, oh my God, I look dead. I look at the mirror and I look dead. And we had someone in here a second ago, I think it was Miss Felony Strutter, was talking about how right now she's really struggling and she doesn't want to look in the mirror. And I can relate to that. I think that's something that a lot of people who are struggling with these symptoms deal with, is that ambivalence to even be able to look at themselves anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And people, what they'll do is they'll minimize. You grow up and you think, well, I had a good childhood. My parents were great. That minimizes the fact that in that moment you were hurt and it affects you. And so we have to stop doing that. We have to stop making excuses or minimizing or rationalizing these things away, and accept that hurt me. It affects me. I have an awareness. Now let's move into healing.
Yeah. And I know, let's see, she had said here her trauma stemmed from being raped at gunpoint on vacation, then coming home from the airport to find her dad in congestive heart failure. That's a pretty heavy, situation for anyone to have to deal with. So of course there's a trauma response to that. Of course there's going to be a real struggle internally with that.
Absolutely. Your trauma is something that absolutely overwhelms your ability to cope. It overwhelms your brain. It throws your brain into survival mode: fight, flight, flee, or fawn. And so what do I do? And then if we have trouble healing from that, we can live in that perpetual state where we constantly feel like we've got to fight or flee, or you know what I mean? And that means that we're living in this like survival mode, and that really is not living.
It's exhausting. It's completely exhausting when you totally feel like you're running from I was gonna say Freddy Krueger, but since it's Freddy the 13th, Jason Voorhees, you feel like you're constantly just running from Jason Voorhees. Happy Friday the 13th, by the way, everyone. I'm gonna definitely be binging me some dead meat kill counts today after the stream, so that will be my personal therapy. I had talked to a mental health professional before about this because I was really scared at the way I cope with my anger. And I have a tendency to watch, horror movies and stuff. That's the way I deal with my anger. And do you think that that's an unhealthy coping mechanism?
Not necessarily. I mean, I understand why people might want to judge that. But first of all, it is entertainment, and people are entertained by a lot of different things. Entertainment is a way for us to kind of escape. Some people binge watch The Office. You binge watch Friday the 13th. So I don't really want to judge that. What I would want to judge is how much escape, like how much are you falling into this? Is it hours? Is it days? Is it becoming unhealthy? And then, like, is what you're seeing, do you want to act on that?
That's the deal, yeah.
If it's obviously no, then no, you're fine.
Yeah, that was what I always thought is, as long as I'm not taking notes here and going, I could have done it better. Right. Gotta get my Jason Voorhees on. Apparently we have a lot of Friday the 13th lovers here. Oh, Eugene did not even know it was Friday the 13th. Shame on you. I love this. Miss Felony Strutter was saying that unfortunately she lost her career because she had to reveal that she is transgender. And David is saying, remember that your career loss was their failure, not yours. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. That when things like that happen, when we lose a job, or we're turned down for a job, or we're turned down for a date, we internalize that as I'm not good enough, when maybe, and I said this on a few videos ago, maybe that just wasn't a good fit for you. I personally would be thrilled that the employer showed their true colors at that point, you know, so you know that you're not working for someone who doesn't share your very important ideals.
Absolutely. Rejection is hard.
Yeah, it is.
It is hard. No matter how you slice it, almost no matter who you are, there is a sting that comes with that rejection. Healing allows us to better cope with that, because we're going to be rejected in the world. It's the absolute truth. How we handle that matters. What we believe about ourselves leading up to that rejection kind of determines how we handle it. And so pursuing healing and not believing those lies, that I'm a burden, I'm a failure, I'm unworthy, we have to deal with so that we can, when it comes.
Yeah. I've always said that having that strong self-esteem and whatnot is what gets us through these times, because if we have a strong sense of self, which is something that's practiced, it's not something that most of us just have, we have to cultivate that. But if we have that, when things like this do happen, when we put ourselves out there and it doesn't work out, then it's going to be a lot easier to cope with. I love watching everyone in here talking about Freddy versus Jason now we have an argument going on about Freddy versus Jason. Oh gosh.
Good healthy debate.
Yes, a good healthy debate. I remember watching that movie with my mother, who was definitely, she wasn't afraid per se, but she just got really uncomfortable about horror movies. But it was Friday the 13th when she was still alive, and that movie had just come out fairly recently. So we agreed to watch it together. And my mother, who was scared of the Blair Witch Project, mind you. I mean, that movie scared her, and come on, that movie is the least scary thing on the face of the planet. But that movie scared her. But she's sitting there watching Freddy and Jason just slice people apart, and she's going, ugh, this looks like Kool-Aid. This doesn't even look like blood. That's not how that would work, because she's a nurse, so she's picking it apart. That's not what would happen if that artery got hit. I'm going, now y'all wonder where I get this. Now you know. Now you know where I get my love for blood spatter and serial killers and all that stuff. It was definitely my mother. So Sarah was saying, I look at myself and I see nothing. It's like I'm a ghost. And Lee says, you're not a ghost. You truly know that you're a wonderful person on the inside, and you need to know this now. And you need to know that even if somebody else doesn't see that, I think, even if somebody else doesn't see that, again, this is about you connecting to that, and you knowing deep inside that you are worthy. And I mean, on the bright side, if people don't see ghosts, then they can't judge ghosts. That's something to consider too. If you are taking that time to, you know, kind of reinvent yourself, people aren't going to be judging you during that time. But we all have our insecurities, you know, we all have these insecurities, and we all sometimes feel invisible. And that was my initial desire. And I had said this way back when I did my life coaching training back in 2010. I graduated in 2011. So 2009, 10, 11, I did life coaching training and stuff. And I remember being asked, what is your mission as a coach? And I said, I want every single one of those people that feel invisible to know that someone sees them. And it's important that we're seeing each other. And we're all seeing you here, Sarah. So you are definitely not a ghost. If so, I see dead people. And that's kind of cool. I'm seeing dead people in my stream. So I mean, that's exciting news for Friday the 13th, right? Thank you again. We have another $20 pledge here. Thank you. Metalmark says, not into horror movies. Life is scary enough at times. You know, sometimes I like to watch horror movies because if you're ever feeling alone, turn on a horror movie. You won't feel alone for very long. I promise you. You're gonna start feeling a presence. But I kind of like thinking, you know what? As bad as my life can seem sometimes, at least it's not this. At least I'm not having to deal with this right here, right now. That's kind of where I get. Okay, before we start winding down with the first half of this stream, so I think I'm going to have to do this, guys, is end this stream and then start a separate one where we can chat and stuff, because we only have Brandy for another 15 minutes. So if you do want to get in any other questions or stuff, let's make sure to do that. But I think I want Brandy to be part of the Snap Cup today, since we have somebody else. And I'm not going to be snapping alone. Have you ever watched Legally Blonde 2?
I remember the first one more. So I'm thinking the bend and snap, but that's absolutely different.
Close enough. I mean, I don't think I could bend and snap in this area, but I'll work on it later today. So the Snap Cup is the sacred vessel where we share our wins, and then we give each other snaps for the week. But with the Snap Cup comes the Snap Cup song. So I, as the Snap Cup mistress, get to sing the Snap Cup song, and everyone here is going to laugh really hard. So, and then we will share our snaps together. Oh, Metal Mark 12 says it's going to be a competition to see which one of us snaps better. So I guess I get to challenge you to a snap off here, but we will sing the song first. So Snap Cup time, gather ye round, friends and foes together, united and bound. Pass it to your neighbor instead of blowing up, and you'll find harmony and love in a Snap Cup. Snaps are so hard to get to pick up on stream though, so it's a little bit difficult. Okay. Oh, fair, yours is first today. I almost gave up on life this week and was getting ready to let go. After struggling with devastating feelings for several days, I reached out for help before it was too late. I will not distance myself from loved ones during hard times. I'm giving life another chance. So let's give snaps for Oh Fair here. I know that can be so hard to get to that point where you just don't know what to do anymore and you're feeling so hopeless. I've been there. Obviously, as a survivor, I've been there. And finding that strength again to say, you know what, you're not taking me down, you're not taking me out. That can be so hard, and it can be so hard to reach out for help during that time. So I am very, very, very proud of you, and I believe in you. I really believe that. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. He just gave us a big pledge here. It means so much to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, I do think that it can be very hard to reach out for help, but the not distancing myself is what really caught me there. He's not distancing himself. He saw that wasn't healthy and is now saying, okay, I'm going to connect to that community as we were talking about earlier.
Absolutely. I'm so proud for you that you overcame that, because it's hard, but you did it.
Yeah. It's hard, but you know what? We can do hard things. We can all do hard things, and we have the community here to have our backs. Idling around says, feeling bad yesterday, I was sitting in the bathroom with a razor in my hand. In that moment, I realized what I'm about to do. I was so disgusted by myself that I threw everything in the trash and started crying. I haven't hurt myself for 2 weeks now. After that, I felt better. Well, snaps for making it 2 weeks. Snaps for throwing all the stuff away. But you know what? I will argue that we shouldn't be disgusted with ourselves in moments like that when we do feel tempted to turn to the things that we once knew. These were the coping mechanisms we knew for a really long time. I used to engage in self-harm as well. And when you have that pattern of behavior that you know that this was effective for you and you struggle to find something else, we just didn't learn any better. And I say, when you know better, you do better. And now you know better. So now you are actively doing better. And I'm proud of you.
Absolutely. That is a big win.
Yeah, that's a huge win. 2 weeks.
One day at a time, and doing the next right thing.
Yep.
And you did the right thing by throwing those things away, because they don't serve you anymore.
They don't. And you are moving past that now. I'm very excited to hear the 30-day mark, because I know you're going to get there. So I'm very excited to hear that milestone as well. But 2 weeks is huge. Getting past that first week is, to me, was the hardest part. So kudos to you. Snaps to you.
Yeah.
The only time I mute Amanda is the singing. Sorry, guys. I know I'm definitely not going to be on American Idol anytime soon. Bruno Goes says, things have been hard since my grandma passed away, but I was able to go back to work and do my thing, so everything is slowly starting to move. Well, kudos, snaps to you for getting back to work. I know that trying to get back in the groove of things after losing someone comes with so many different emotions. That was probably the hardest thing for me after I lost my mom was, well, how am I supposed to just try and go back to life like nothing's happened, you know? But that's a huge step to be able to get back to that. And he was saying it's a small step, but I'm slowly moving forward. And that's all we can do. Every step doesn't have to be giant. We think that every step has to be huge. But
sometimes if I take a little step, take a little step.
Rainbow says, yes, Amanda, I also reached out to you when I was contemplating ending my life, and your support was very helpful in getting me through that phase. I'm happy to report that I'm in a MUER. I don't know what MUER is, but I am very happy that the community was able to be here for you and to help you through that time. I know there's a lot of people here that have struggled, and just being able to come open up or come hear that someone else is struggling has been so monumental, and it's very humbling, and it means the world to me that you guys are finding solace here and that you feel safe here and that you're able to start healing, that I get to be part of that journey. It means a lot to me. So thank you. Hey guys, so we're getting a bunch of suggestions here for different songs, like Iron Maiden, Fear the Dark by Iron Maiden. They say this is a good song to get you scared. What do you think? Should we bring Texas Brandy back for a reaction sometime here? I think that we should bring Brandy back for a reaction on the channel. So let's get some song suggestions for what you think Brandy should react to.
I always felt like my theme song whenever I entered a room should be Let the Bodies Hit the Floor.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
But that doesn't seem very therapeutic, so I guess I'll go back to the drawing board.
Oh my gosh, David and I actually were just talking yesterday. David Gapp's here in the chat. We were just talking yesterday. I don't know if you've ever seen the video, and I don't remember his name, but I've watched it so many times. I think he was an 83-year-old man who did that song on American Idol or whatever thing. And it was just, this guy worked on the Hubble telescope. So he was this really accomplished person. Right. And he wasn't super talented in the sense of he had the voice for it, but that little old man got up there and just sang his heart out, and you see the crowd, like all these people are just rocking out. It was just so beautiful to see this guy live his dream, and I'm going, you know what? Kudos to you. Amazing.
Good for you,
I love it.
Guy.
Get up there. Don't give a crap what anybody else thinks. I'm going to send that to you later, Brandy, if you haven't seen it, because this will be your new version of the theme song once it becomes official.
Perfect.
My friends called Striper their song To Hell with the Devil. Ooh, that sounds like a good song. I never heard that. Have to add that to the list. TK6561 woke up early and ran, even though injuries make it hard, and had consistently avoided the bourbon despite saying goodbye to a friend. So staying strong in sobriety during time of loss, when it's to be harder, snaps to you. That is, I can attest to that. I think her snaps are a little bit louder than mine, so I think you're winning here. What do you guys think? Is she winning? But yeah, I think that being able to stay with sobriety or recovery once something tragic happens or something traumatic happens or something that makes us want to fall off that wagon is how we know that we're really getting to that point of healing. I think that that's almost a test, that if you can have something tragic happen and you don't turn to whatever it is, you know that you're at a point where you can overcome pretty much anything at that point.
Absolutely. Will I run to what's familiar, or will I run to what is going to serve me and be healthy for me?
Yep.
That's a big deal.
That was how I knew that I had started to heal. It was definitely a big step. T. Montgomery hasn't smoked since Sunday. I'm always so excited to see these snaps for that. My dad had emphysema, so people quitting smoking has always really been a very big deal to me, because I had to grow up seeing the effects of that and seeing how it hurts a person and it hurts the people around them. And it's so unnecessary. My dad started smoking when he was very young, back in the 50s, or I think in the 50s. He started smoking when they didn't know what it did. Yeah. But it can affect physical and mental health. There I go now, splitting
Absolutely.
the two. There I go, pretending that the brain's not in the body. Listen to me, physical and mental health. But yeah, snaps to you for that, because I get so excited and giddy when I see people quitting smoking on that journey, and you will definitely be able to continue going. Your snaps are better, Amanda, but hers are a little better. There's a video. Yeah, there you go. David was talking about the video of him singing too. Sandwich91, I was able to help
So much.
Yeah. Sandwich91, I was able to help someone else going through a rough time. And I know that Sandwich91 has been going through a rough time himself, as he's shared here in the community. So I love to see people, even when they're struggling, being able to help others, because I think that can raise our own vibes and that can help our own mental health, knowing that we have an impact. So when you help someone else, you're seeing that we have an impact as individuals and we can make a difference. So our light matters. We are sharing that light with the world.
Absolutely. The quickest way to get outside yourself is to serve someone else.
I thought you were going to say is to get in someone else, and I was going to say maybe you might want to rephrase that, Brandy. The quickest way to get outside of yourself is to get in someone else. No, we're not going to go there. Miss Felony Strutter says, a song that describes my life is a tune called Diary of a Madman by Ozzy and Randy Rhoads. I actually did a reaction to that song if you have not seen it. Felony, David, if you want to drop that here in the chat so she can see that, maybe that will help a little bit just to hear my perspective on it and to see if yours is the same. So maybe that will give you a little bit of validation too. Vat Vikar says, after a bad start this week, Mother's Day and the aftermath, I completely understand. I was able to stay healthy and alive. And I know that Vat had said in his post that that's the only win I have for this week. Like, that's not a huge win. Like, that's not the win, to stay healthy and alive. So snaps. Did I give Sandwich snaps? If not, extra snaps for Sandwich. But yes, snaps for you. Mother's Day was really hard on me too, because it brought up, missing my mom. It brought up feelings of grief surrounding the miscarriage. So Mother's Day can be really challenging, and there is aftermath once we've had that emotional breakdown. But snaps to you for being able to stay healthy and survive. That's a huge win. That's the win. So that's not just a little thing for the week.
Absolutely. And we have to understand, just because everybody looks like they're celebrating doesn't mean it's true.
Nope. I learned
not everybody feels like Mother's Day is the be all end all.
Right. War Moves Eternal paused editing a video for his own channel just to be here for the stream. Thank you. Thank you so much. I know how long that takes, so I appreciate that. David says, I love reading books and working in the garden. We all know ladies find book nerds and gardeners very sexy. It's true, we do. Because you're gonna grow us flowers. I love someone that I catch reading. Like, it's just so awesome. My boyfriend, I walked into his room, I'm going, oh my God, there's books in your room. Yes. I remember a few boyfriends.
Oh, you're intelligent, sir.
Right, so you read. I remember one time I was reading Dante's Inferno by Dante Alighieri, and the guy I was dating at the time goes, are you in a class that you didn't tell me about? And I said, no, why? And he said, so you're just reading that because you want to, for fun? Yeah. But why? For fun. It's just so weird that so many people don't read. I love guys that read. I love reading. I am in the middle of a really cool novel right now. So yes, reading. And I started gardening as of Easter. I'll have to send you that video, Brandy, because it was kind of a cool concept of, my version of rebirth during the Easter time. So
awesome.
I don't know if this is chitin or kitten. I'm going to say chitin 44 is 3 months clean from addiction. So snaps for being 3 months clean. 90 days. That is a pretty big deal. Like I said, I feel like that first bit is really the hard part. And then once you get past that, it's for the most part smooth sailing. I mean, there's times where you're going, oh my God, life is falling apart. A part of me, as you said, really wants to go with what's familiar. But then you think, but there's something out there that could be more effective and better. So I think we only got 2 left here. Books, not Kindles. Destroy Kindles. I support this mission. I support this.
I do too. I cannot read on a Kindle. I have to read a book.
I don't want to.
Because I have to highlight and write in it. I'm really nerdy.
Nope. I fold my pages. I take notes. I highlight. I underline. And I spend enough time on a screen. I don't want to spend more time on a screen. Let me stare at a dead tree for hours and vividly hallucinate. All right.
And they smell. They have this smell to them. Oh God,
yes.
Like,
I could just sniff books all day long. That's my kink right there. Sniffing books.
All the bibliophiles are coming out of the woodwork.
Yep, the bibliophiles are coming out of the woodwork. Discussion. Any other bibliophiles in here? Oh, I love it. Miss Felly Star says, I have a massive library. I can send you some books And with any luck, my first 2 books will be published in January. Yes, please. And that is something to hold on for. So please, 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 your voice needs to be heard in this world. Don't let go.
Absolutely.
Salty Assassins broke down and talked to doctor about depression. So took that first step in talking to the doctor. So hard, such a hard step. Very important, very proud of you, Salty Assassin. Snaps for that, for being able to take that step and overcoming, you know, the ambivalence that comes with that. Very huge. Amanda has her library scented candle. It is true. My boyfriend actually got me a book scented candle, a library book scented candle. That's
cool.
The level of bibliophile I am. Bibliophile. Okay. Jake Smith has been busy cleaning up his living area, which I think is cool. I just made a vlog about that the other day, about how much having a cluttered or dirty area can affect your mental health. So,
yes. Mind.
Yep, that is my thing that I live by, is if you are constantly in that place of, you look around you and you have to dig through 6 piles just to find your keys, you know, it's stressful. It becomes very stressful, and it overloads our brains. It's too much stimulation to have that much stuff. We're not meant to have that much stuff.
Absolutely.
So guys, I think Brandy has to go. So everyone give her a big love, lots of love for coming by. Lots of love for coming by. I will be starting another stream here so we can continue this, guys. If you still want to jump in, Brandy, you are welcome. But I will be coming back hopefully as normal. Hopefully I don't have any issues trying to figure out how to kind of recalibrate everything. But did you have any messages you wanted to share?
First, thank you so much for letting me be a part of your community. It is, y'all are beautiful. The way that you support each other, I think, is amazing. I hope to visit you guys again soon. And if you have any questions, maybe lingering questions, and you want maybe Amanda to email me, I can give some answers to some of those, and she can cover them maybe next time with you. But if you didn't get your question answered, but I think you guys are awesome, and thank you so much for letting me be here.
And absolutely, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are watching this afterwards. So if you are watching this afterward and you want to submit a question, make sure to leave that in the comments, and I will make sure that gets to Brandy here. But again, thank you so much, and I will see you guys in a few minutes. I will see you soon, Brandy. Thank you. Mwah.